So let's modify the index view for our home controller, but before we do that, let's go to the underscore layout.cs HTML and make some changes there. Because if you remember, we've deleted some views and also some actions that we are not going to be using. And one of them was this one for the privacy right here. So I'm going to remove this link to the privacy from our view. So the li text can be removed here from the navigation. We of course need to render the body, that's correct. And I'm going to also remove the privacy over here. So I'll just remove this a tag completely. That's just so it doesn't confuse us when we actually run the application with our view. So let's go to the index, and I'm going to remove everything. So first, we need to get in the model. And the model, like I said, is going to be the list of all songs. So that's a list and of type song. And I can only specify the model without the fully qualifying path to the models folder, because if you remember from the previous exercises, in our view imports, we have these using statements. So it already knows that we have models in the songs list, which is our project, .models folder. And you can see we also have the tag helpers available to us because we created this application from the template, so it was added automatically. So after we have the model, I'm going to create the view bag, and that's gonna be the title for our page. So view bag .title, and that can be my songs. And now I'm going to create a table that will display all the songs from the list. So I'm going to create a table, and I'm going to format it using the bootstrap. So it's gonna be a table class. We can make it bordered, so it's gonna be table bordered. And we can have it table stripped, so this way the color of the rows will be different. Let's create the header for the table. So it's the head, and we'll have the name, year, and rating in the header. So let's create a row, and the first th is going to be the name. And we don't need the ID because that's kind of unusual actually to display the ID of the record in an application like this. The ID is internal, we only use it really to query the database so we get the song that we need. So the next one is going to be the year. And the last one is going to be the rating. And I'm going to use another empty one because we will have a column with the link to edit or delete this record. So that's gonna be another column, and we'll have the empty header for it. So after the head, I will create the table body. And since we are having a list, we are going to loop through each record in it. So I'll use the razor syntax, and we'll use the for each. And it's a simple syntax for each, so we'll loop through each song. So variable songs in the model. The model is the list of songs. And for each song, we will create a row, so tr, and we will display the name, year, and rating. So we will display the td for the name. So we'll go to our song, which is the variable song inside the for each loop, and get the name of the song. So the next column is going to be for the year. So we'll go to song.year, and then we'll have the column for the rating. So it's gonna be song.rating. And like I said, we will have a link to edit as well as delete this record. Now we don't have these actions ready yet, but we will add them later, but we can add these links now. So let's do the td for the edit and delete links. So here we will use the links with the tag helpers. So we'll create an anchor tag and go to ASP-controller. And the controller that will have the link to edit the song is going to be called song controller. Currently we only have a home controller, but we will have one that is gonna be called song. So I can add it here. And then we can add the action, And the action to edit the song, obviously I'm gonna call it edit. Now it doesn't have to be called edit, it can be called really anything, but I'm gonna follow the common sense and call the action that edits a record simply edit. And we are editing a single song, therefore we need to pass in the ID of the song, otherwise you wouldn't know what song to edit. So we will use the ASP route. However, we will specify the route for the data that I'm gonna call ID. Remember, ID is the argument that needs to be passed into the edit action. So it has to be named the same. If I call it song ID, then the argument inside the edit action would have to be song ID as well. But I'll call it ID. Again, this is a common practice. And the ID, of course, comes from the song dot song ID. That's inside of our loop still. And I'll call it edit. So that's gonna be the link text. And I will add one for the deleting of the record. So again, I'll create an anchor with ASP controller. That's gonna be again in the song controller. And I'll go to an action. And since this is gonna be deleting the record, the action is gonna be called delete. And once again, we need to pass in the ID, otherwise we wouldn't know what record to delete. So I'm actually gonna copy this and paste it here, because the route is gonna be the same. We will pass in the ID into the delete action. And the text for the link can be delete. Now since we are already adding to edit and delete songs, even though we don't have everything ready yet in our controllers, we can also add a link to add a new song, to create a song. And that can be a simple link above the table that will have the add song in the links text. So let's create that, and again it's gonna be an anchor tag, and we'll go to ASP controller for the song. So all these three methods or actions are gonna be in the song controller that we will create, and we'll go to ASP action, and this one I'll call add. So this one will add a new song. You could also call it create, whatever you want, but I'll call it add. And the text for the link is add new song. Now notice we are not passing any route, and that's because the ID will be created by the database. When we create new song, all we pass in are the name, year, and rating, not the ID. Alright, let's actually run this and see if it works. And here is our homepage with the songs from the database. And you can see they are ordered alphabetically by name. And here are the links, one for the edit, and down here you can see that we would go to the song controller edit action and pass in the ID 3, because this ID belongs to the Lose Yourself song. When I go to delete, we'll go to song controller, delete, and pass in the ID 3. The next one is the ID 1, so we'll go to song, edit 1, and to delete the song would be song/delete and pass the ID 1. Of course we don't have these ready yet, so if I click it, we'll get an error. You can see the page cannot be found. And here is the add new song. When I hover over it, you can see we'll go to song controller and add action, and no ID is being passed. But with this, we successfully retrieved data from the database using link. We sorted the data, in this case by name of the song. We have our view that we already prepared for edit, delete, and adding new song. So we are definitely on the way. So next, let's create the song controller.